Hello, my name is Gisela Pink and I'm here with my co-host Julia Lisk. Welcome to Intimate Leadership. This episode is sponsored by RPO Global. So we're here with Clair Atkinson. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
But first of all, I like to say hello to Julia. Hi, Gisela. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Claire?
Claire comes from a farming background in Kent. She's worked her way up in the banking industry to branch manager, but with her passion for learning in HR, she changed specialisms. She's excelled in roles such as leadership trainer and facilitator, faculty manager, project manager, HR manager, and senior HR partner. She's mastered many skills that include strategy planning, change management, coaching and mediation. Outside of work, Claire has held the British Ladies Auto Test Trophy and she's also a precision driver. She's also a cricket coach. Very busy lady.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It sounds like all-rounder, yeah? So from driving to cricket to getting to know you a little bit lately. I see you as an activator. I see you as someone that starts the fire and gets it going. So where would you say your drive comes from?
Oh my goodness, yeah. So that's a lovely way of describing me as an activator. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from family. It absolutely comes from the push of family, farming background. That's why I'm very proud to put that in at the top of my bio, really. When we were younger, we all had to be pretty damn self-sufficient. Now, I wasn't the best farming daughter in the world. My brother was definitely the one who's carried on with that tradition, which is brilliant. I looked at what my brother and my sister were doing and I needed to be like them. I looked up to them when I was a lot younger and my mum and dad let me get on with it. And my success was tapped on the back, which was brilliant. I do a lot of stuff for that recognition from family.
I hear that.
But yeah, I absolutely loved growing up in that environment.
So how did you get from farming to the corporate world?
Well, you can
fast track.
Yeah, fast track. Myself and my sister were told very much that there was no money in the farming industry and therefore we had to go off and do our own thing. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. In fact, I was stuck. And my auntie found a fantastic BTEC, which was business administration, and that is where my passion then started. So I really enjoyed the business environment and learning a bit about how industries worked. And I was dead lucky. I was at a careers fair and opposite me was a lovely lady from Lloyds Bank who was there also at the careers fair and said, would you come and work for us? She saw me perform for 2 days and therefore offered me a job, which I was very grateful for and still to this day very grateful.
And then at some point you had a shift in roles, I would say, going from banking to people, to learning, HR.
Absolutely.
And so what was the major motivator for that?
I think I always felt like I wasn't good enough in business branch banking. I didn't enjoy the sales aspect of branch banking, although people will tell you that I could sell sands to, Arabs and such like. I think that's only because I'm a good storyteller rather than a salesperson. So learning has always been my passion. I love to teach people. I like being in front of house. I like being in front of stage. I like to enthuse people and training just happened to be a great opportunity for me. And I got on the management training scheme quite young at the time. So I felt that was a really good way of being able to learn lots very quickly and showcase what I could do. And from that, I then decided that HR was where I wanted to go. I was very lucky that my education was paid for. In fact, it was really interesting when I got my mark for my dissertation for my MBA. I was given the letter that said I'd got a D and I was mortified, absolutely mortified. And they said, Claire, that's a distinction.
Yeah.
And got the highest mark. So yeah, I was blown away.
So is that something that happens? Like you talk yourself down and then you need to pick yourself up?
Totally. I think it's never been easy. I would always believe that I wasn't good enough for the next role, but I would always push myself to go for the next role. I even took a job as a head of in the HR environment for group operations where I was, knowing that I had to fly around the country. I got fear of flying. So I tackled the fear of flying through pushing myself doing a job, because by getting on a plane, knowing I'd got to get to the job that meant that I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And I would have panic attacks on the plane, and I had so much support. But yeah, I took things knowing that, I didn't think I was good enough to do it, or I had a fear that meant I couldn't do it.
Now that sounds like an amazing roller coaster.
I am, what you see is what you get. I'm exceptionally honest with the support that goes with it, so that people can support themselves to go through change. But also I will push for others to sit outside their comfort zone, because I know that it works for them.
Is there a space in today's business world for authentic leadership?
Gosh, I'd love to say yes. I'd love to say yes, and I'd like to say that I've been given the privilege of practicing that way.
So why can't you say yes?
Because I look around and I don't think it's everywhere. I listen and I talk to ex-colleagues, friends, and leadership isn't the same. It isn't the same everywhere, because it depends where the pressures are coming from.
But surely it's evolved over time that you've been in the management positions.
Yeah, it's evolved. I can only talk from myself, that I decided that I was going to be authentic. I need to be me. I can't play the corporate BS all the time, because it just doesn't fit me. I will navigate round it, but I don't have any desire to play it.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. But for me, that's the authenticity of me wanting to be open and honest. And do I break trust? Do I break corporate trust or individual trust? No, I don't. I do enough to ensure that everybody is aware around what's going on. And that has paid more dividends for me in the last 10 years than any other time in my career.
Would you say you're taking a stand for your team and you're sometimes challenging the status quo?
Definitely. My first and foremost will always be the support of the individuals that work for me. Feedback that says being treated like an adult means that I will respond like an adult. Mm-hmm. And I just think, why wouldn't I treat you like how you deserve? Oh, don't get me wrong, I've stood in rooms, closed a door, and we've had toe-to-toe arguments. I've screamed at some people, and I'm sure those people will hear this and go, yeah, that was me she screamed at. The respect outside of the room was, we've got it out now, let's go. And I do not hold a grudge, ever. And there's corporations that I've experienced, you do one thing wrong, you will never go further.
Would you say you ever achieve greatness as a leader?
There is so much to learn every day.
So what would be success for you?
Success for me is a highly engaged team, a team that is open and honest with you, and just being open and honest about what's going on. For me, trust is so important, and no surprises. I would never want to give anyone a surprise that actually they couldn't cope with.
So you can deal with bad news, but surprises you don't like.
Yeah, absolutely. We used to have a motto in one of my teams, which is, I don't care if you do anything wrong, just let me know before someone else tells me.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a toe-to-toe partnership.
So what is the role of integrity in who you are and in your teams?
Now, you said something earlier, actually, Gisela, about integrity. What was your definition of integrity?
I said that is honoring your word as yourself.
That integrity for me is about, I will tell you exactly what I think, how it is, what I see, how I feel. Doesn't mean you're wrong. It doesn't mean I'm wrong either. It's about working together to say we can have differences. I've just been working with a couple of people who I absolutely adore. We would, behind closed doors, have such heated discussions and debates about how we were going to be running this department. How are we going to be making this change? And we wouldn't agree all the time, but whatever we agreed, whether I liked it or not, that's what came out of that door. And that for me is pure integrity, that I would not knowingly let somebody fail. And that will go with me forever. And I'm probably too honest sometimes, but that's okay as well, because that's me being authentic. Yeah.
So, but would you say that sometimes you're forced by the environment to be inauthentic?
I think there's lots of environments that ensure that you cannot say what you think is the right thing, because if you're seen as different, then you know that is going to come and bite you on the backside another day. People have held processes to account, or have made a stand for something that they feel very passionate about, whether it be a strategy being developed or a way that the business is going, and because somebody's been very strong with their opinion and it's completely different, you then see them slowly move out and suddenly they're gone, and you kind of go, that still happens in organisations. I was talking to a friend the other day who's in a public sector environment, and I think it's actually worse in public sector than it is in private sector. But hearing the examples, you say something that's going against that, we need to just do this. Yeah, people don't last. And that I'm really ashamed to think that still happens.
It's difficult for cultures to change.
Yeah.
I mean, private and public are so completely different.
And don't you think, though, Julia, the bit that I find fascinating is that where you get companies saying we have X culture, which is phenomenal in some instances, and I have been exceptionally lucky to work in some very, value-driven companies who have got huge engagement. But I look at it and go, but that's only in pockets. So actually, when you walk around some of these different companies, the culture's different wherever you go.
In different departments. Yeah.
And it is about, do we have one view of leadership, management? So what makes a culture right?
And I would say that we're all on that leadership discovery.
Yeah.
I mean, what shapes us as leaders is not the same in every case.
No, absolutely. But who says that it's wrong or right?
Appraisals. The word alone can send shivers down the spines of employees, managers, and senior leaders alike. How many of us disregard them as a waste of time? What if I told you that by doing it differently, your appraisal system could not only measure performance, but could become your most valuable tool in creating a culture of high performance in your workforce? Fancy the idea of highly motivated, self-directed teams striving for world-class performance in your organisation. Sound impossible? We do this all day, every day, within many different types of companies, and we'd love to show you how. Just click on the link in the show notes or drop a message to anita@rpo-global.com to find out more.
For me, it's the people that work with you and for you. They are the barometer of whether you are successful or not. So going back to your question, am I a successful leader? I would love to think that my team that I've recently had would say yes, but I would still think there's more to do.
What role has failure got in your life? I understand that in the past you experienced changes, you experienced, the rug being pulled out from your feet.
Yeah.
That must have been very frustrating. But what was it like for you, and what's your experience of failure?
Yeah. There's a couple of instances that really spring to mind about failure, and did I think it was failure at the time? No, I think I was quite young and naive and just blamed it on somebody else. That person that came and did whatever they did, it was their problem rather than
not my responsibility.
No, it probably wasn't my responsibility. The worst one that I ever had is when someone came in and took ownership for something that I had designed, delivered, spent years managing, and someone else basically told me it was theirs.
And what did that feel like?
Oh, I felt horrific. And I'll tell you how I responded. I left that part of the business because there was no way on earth I was going to fight someone I had no respect for.
I know I'm quite particular in the way I am, and I know that inspires jealousy in many areas, in many people. Is that the case for you? Would you say that happens to you?
I think the only times I've ever been aware of any jealousy has been where potentially someone has seen me as a bit of a threat. My authenticity is I'm not frightened to do anything. I will give everything a go. If you said to me, Claire, I want you to go and learn how to build a wall, I'll go and learn, and I'll go and build the best wall I can. So have people been jealous of me? I think as I say, the only time I've really experienced it has been with females who don't like the way that I approach things in a work context.
So it would be more like a challenge, your ideas, rather than jealousy.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I don't think jealousy is a weird word, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It just brings something up for the other person.
Yeah.
So rather than celebrate your success, they challenge your success because it's easier to look at what you're doing than what they're doing.
But isn't that why we all have a group of girlfriends that we absolutely love spending time with? So I think sometimes you don't look internally at work for that affirmation. Got to look for affirmation externally. You do look at it from your girlfriends, don't you?
But isn't it by talking that we then realise what we're saying, and then we accept what we're saying?
Yeah.
So that again is, therapeutic, whereas a lot of men don't do that.
Totally agree with you.
So speaking of ego, what's it like to be a woman in the world of motorsports?
Yeah, interesting. There was only a few of us lovely ladies that...
I've got a statistic.
Oh, you've got a statistic?
Yeah. So
Got a number?
I've got a number. So the industry, 81% of male drivers, managers, vehicle technicians, mechanics, electricians. That doesn't leave much for women.
And I think if that's a latest statistic, that's a lot higher than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Auto testing, what an interesting sport that is. So it's a clubman sport. It's quite fast reactions. You've got to be quite strong. So there's one thing straight away that us women are not as designed.
Confident or strong physically?
I think strong physically. I'm lacking in. I'm fearful.
Are you?
And I'm considered. Yeah.
I'm surprised at that.
But you say that because somebody referred to me once as you're a bit of a risk taker, and I'm not. I'm as far away from a risk taker as you can get.
Calculated risk.
Calculated. My brain works so fast to go, what's going to go wrong here, there, da. When you're auto testing, you're not allowed to hit anything. You're not allowed to hit the cones. You calculate where you're going to go. Now, I was never as fast as the men, but I didn't care. I was competing against myself, and I was constantly competing around, I want a faster time next time, I want this, I want that, which was brilliant, and I loved it. It was a hobby. For those couple of minutes that you're actually going around the little circuit that you're doing, you don't think about anything else. And the adrenaline pump was just something I've never experienced before in my life. So yeah, it was definitely the biggest thrill that I could go for on the weekends that we would race.
So you're also into coaching cricket?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it about cricket that you enjoy?
So I've always loved cricket. I used to play a bit of cricket when I was younger. Yeah, so I've offered to support the club, cricket coaching the little ones, which are hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So we're trying to drive the female agenda within the cricket environment. So between 9 and 13, which is brilliant. So hopefully it's a slow burn, but we will get there. But yeah, love it, absolutely love it.
Now there's a lot going on in the world. Most of it is driven by men.
Yeah.
And we have little power, little control over what's going on. But at the same time, it's quite hopeful to see some new presidents, female leaders standing up in Mexico, Iceland, Italy. What is your view of what's going to happen next in the world?
I do watch the news, and I am probably more fearful around what's happening in America and what's happening out in Ukraine and Russia. That's probably what bothers me more than anything else. I think it's great. I think it's exceptionally inspiring. I would love to see more females going into politics. Back to the USA and Russia, and are they going to listen to any women?
Fighting for a place in life. It is not in business anymore. It's a place in life, a place where skill is more important than gender.
Oh, I completely agree. And I think you've got to be pretty damn strong, haven't you, to sit through the BS that's going on at the moment.
What would you say women contribute to the world?
I think we contribute a fantastic balance. I think we offer the reality check of actually, it doesn't matter what woman you are, you live and breathe real life on a day-to-day basis. Because if you're trying to hold a role, you're trying to hold a partnership together, if you've got children, you're trying to hold children together, grandchildren, whatever it might be, you are living. And parents out, yeah, absolutely. Dependents that you've got on you as well. I think you're living that every day. I still think there is a mindset that the men probably can detach from that when they get off to work, and But there was a fabulous thing I saw online, interview with a psychologist, and she was describing the difference between when a man goes to work and a female goes to work. And it was very simplistically described as a man goes to work and he kisses his wife goodbye, and says goodbye to the children, raffles their heads and says goodbye, walks out immediately. Right, what's on the phone? What's my agenda? Blah, 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 blah. Female goes to work who's got children. She's thinking, oh my goodness, have they got their school kit? They've got a cold. Did I tell somebody that they might need to phone me and where I'll be when that happens? Who's picking them up from school? Have they got their book that they needed? What am I going to do them to tea? Christ, they haven't had greens this week. I need to get some vegetables in them tonight. Females who have that kind of responsibility and trying to do a full-time job are constantly thinking in that way. And I did think that was really fascinating, taking back to basics. So we can do 2 or 3 jobs at the same time. Hold a career, hold a family, look after any dependents or work out what else we need to be doing and still operate.
So what would you say would be your legacy to the world? What do you want to leave for your children, for the world itself? What would people say about you when you're not here?
So I want them to say it when I am here.
So what would it be?
So I want them to think that I want my son to believe that I am helping him every day. I want him to know that I will be there 100% for him no matter what has happened. My son has been an absolute superstar with him growing up and me. I had a year out of work. The menopause hit me at 43 and I literally had a breakdown. And my son was quite young, and every day he asked me if I wanted a cup of tea. Every day he asked me if I was okay, how my day was.
You've just mentioned menopause on the fly, but what was it like for you to go through early menopause?
Dealing with the menopause at work was pretty tough, actually. I found that I was only 43, so that was, nearly 10 years ago now. And there was nothing in the press about it, didn't really know what was happening to me. And it was as if somebody had smacked me around the head. Couldn't remember names, couldn't remember words. Just couldn't get the fuzz out of my head. And the biggest visual impact that I had is I would go bright red in meetings, I would sweat, have the hot sweats, which meant that I was taking 1 or 2 changes of clothes to work every day. Really didn't know what was going on with me. I really thought I'd got some horrible problem with my brain and just couldn't get through it. It was horrible. Lost my confidence, couldn't perform at all. So I think I had to just put my hand up and say, I'm struggling, I can't do this. I was one of the only ones that I knew, the only person I knew in the workplace that was having this problem until I started talking about it. So I got a huge amount of support once I was being open and honest. And lots of people from across the business came towards me and said, no, thank you for being open, thank you for being honest about it. By just being open and honest and showing that little bit of vulnerability meant that there was more empathy. There was a huge amount of people that came out and said, I've had something like that. And that really helped people to open up and to talk about it.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure many women that are listening will appreciate that. So going back to the previous question, how would people talk about you?
The way that my husband describes me and other people, which I'm very grateful for, have shared that when I walk into a room, there's a light that comes on, and I just want them to think of me as a bit of a light.
Well, I would agree with that.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
So on that note, I want to really thank you for being with us today, having this intimate conversation. And it's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Gisela, and thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's lovely to meet both of you, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you to our sponsors, RPO Global. And that is the power of intimate leadership. Thank you for listening.